Welcome to Hip Hop Movie Club, the show that harmonizes the rhythm of hip hop with the magic of movies. Today, we're discussing Set It Off, a heist crime action film from 1996. We're three old heads who put their old heads together to vibe on these films for you. I'm Dino Wright, podcaster, filmmaker, longtime hip hop fan, and the ladies will kick it, the rhyme that is wicked.
I'm JB, 80s and 90s nostalgia junkie, longtime hip hop fan, and well, I'll be darned, shiver me timbers, yo, head for the hills. I picked a weeping willow and a daffodil.
Hey.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Yes, classic. I'm Boogie, a DJ, longtime hip hop fan, and sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick.
Nice and smooth.
In this episode, we'll answer the question, is Set It Off a groundbreaking film? And we'll give you 5 key takeaways to make you a smarter hip hop movie fan.
Set It Off is a 1996 crime drama featuring a star-studded cast of black females who are pushed to the brink with the oppressive system. Being dead broke but also emboldened is the formula that leads the ladies to rob banks. Once they taste success, all bets are off in this roller coaster thriller.
And here are 5 takeaways you need to know about Set It Off. This is Queen Latifah's first lead role and one of the best performances of a rapper turned actor. Number 2, this film is an ode to black women friendship and sisterhood, with strong performance from the 4 leads to match. Number 3, we see an early instance of an LGBTQ relationship in a major motion picture, and it's handled well without making it a clumsy plot point. Number 4, the soundtrack is hip-hop heavy and important to the heist sequences. And number 5, some of the themes like police brutality, racism, sexism, systemic oppression are sadly still relevant, which gives the film a poignant quality.
All right. Thanks for that intro. Let's kick it right off with the first takeaway that you had mentioned, Dinah Wright. This is Queen Latifah's first lead role and one of the best performances of a rapper turned actor. Boogie, want to kick us off with one of your favorite females of all time, Queen Latifah, in her role here.
Yeah, so like I've talked about this in some of our live events. We mentioned our Mount Rushmore of rappers turned actors, but this is arguably my favorite role from the Queen, and I think that it's because of the range that she gives us. We see all the emotions from her, from being a loving and loyal friend to the crew, to her being in a loving sexualized relationship with her girlfriend, to being hardened and ruthless when it comes down to robbing the banks and getting her point across. I mean, you literally get the full range. And for this to be her first lead role, I think it carries so much weight. And even though you know the type of person she is, you see the circumstances that kind of would cause her to be the way she is, you almost want to root for her in a certain sense. And you hope that, something turns around and gets better for her. But I think she really delivers, and she hammers it home in this one.
Definitely. She plays the role of Cleo, and she's like that street smart, streetwise, almost leader of the crew. And yeah, you see the wide range. You covered it. I don't think I can even add much more. You nailed it there, Boogie. John, Wright, you have anything else to add about Queen Latifah?
I will say that I've asked people younger than me that if they knew that Queen Latifah was a rapper, and they don't. It's kind of funny, and this is the beginning of it. Like, this demonstrates her range, like you said, Woogie, and from this point, you can see the progression that she gets bigger roles. She's the lead in more films, and she makes this transition from being, an actor more so than a rapper sometimes. So here's where it begins.
Right. And I think another point too, which makes this role such a dynamic role for her, is that the character is nothing like her in real life. Like, she's one of, granted, you don't play around with her, you don't mess with her, you don't do her wrong, but on a normal, if you bumped into her, she's the nicest person. Like, extremely nice, extremely pleasant, sweet person, but she plays such a hardened criminal in this movie. It's just like, wow. And I think that's probably what gravitated me towards her role in this, because I could see her in other roles after this, and you could see her personality in the role. In this one, you really don't see too much of it in the role. It's like she completely flipped the switch on her. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
That comment about people knowing her only as an actor, that makes me feel kind of old, because I remember when she burst on the scene, all hail the
We
queen.
are old.
And yeah, we are old. Yeah, so feel what you are. You are. It's like in sports. You are what your record says you are, right? It's whatever the age, that's what you are, right? So UNITY, like she was this like sensational rapper, part of the Native Tongues Collective, which is one of our favorites, if not our favorite, and like so influential there. But like even beyond, she crushes it as an actress, and like her vocal talents, and like again, she's like up there in that top tier of entertainers overall. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
She's almost at EGOT level. Like I think she's missing one, right, or something like that. But like, wouldn't shock me.
She's on she's on that level.
She's on that level, exactly. Yeah.
She definitely has the ability to get up, to get all of them. It's just the right roles gotta make it happen.
Exactly. Yeah, she could do it.
Yeah,
I would not bet against her at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So the second key takeaway is the film is also an ode to Black women friendship and sisterhood, with strong performances from the 4 leads to match. So, Boog, you want to take us into the 4 leads and how, it ties together those themes?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, typically, when we talk about crime dramas or any type of movie in that realm, you usually see a bond between male characters. This movie takes on a different twist in that the leads are all women. And you see the bond between them, and you see how they look out for one another. We have Queen Latifah, Vivica A. Fox, Jada Pinkett Smith, but she was just Jada Pinkett at the time, and Kimberly Elise. I mean, they all deliver, and they all add dynamic qualities to their group. You see the outspokenness, and the hardness, and the deep loyalty of Queen Latifah. Vivica Fox is a force to reckon with as well, and I mean, when it comes to toughness, I mean, her character stands toe to toe with Cleo's character from Queen Latifah. Jada Pinkett Smith, who is more of I guess she's more of a focal point of the group, because she's the one that probably has the most gain and most to lose in this movie. You get to see her character struggling. She's trying to figure out which way is up, or what to do and how to handle the situation, because she becomes extremely wrapped up in the whole situation involving the bank robbery heist. And Kimberly Elise, she gives an innocence, a sweetness to the movie, to the group. She's dealing with the system. Her son has been taken from her, and she's trying to do whatever she can to regain the custody of her son. And with the 4 of them, they don't really know which way to turn and what to look at, which way to go. So they all decide to come with the bank heist scheme, and then go down that route. But their idea was doomed from the start. We knew there's no good that could come out of that. I mean, and then not to talk about too much about what happens in the end, but there are some deaths that occur throughout the movie, and some of the most memorable that I've come across. Not giving away too many details. And although the women are committing crime by robbing banks, you do still want to root for them, because you kind of see the circumstances that have put them in the place to do what they're doing. And unfortunately, all of the deaths could have been avoided, which adds a little bit of sadness to it as well. But I mean, I do see that it was a well written and well performed movie by the leads.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of that. I think F. Gary Gray directed. He did a great job with the character development. You could see the bond between the 4 women, which was one of our points here.
Yes.
Frankie was Vivica A. Fox. That was her nickname. Francesca Frankie. It's like she was working at the bank, and she got fired because she knew the one robber in the initial scene, Darnell. And so like they all bonded because of the different forms of oppression. So bonded, and Stoney was the character played by Jada Pinkett. She was the caretaker for her brother Stevie, who has mistaken identity. We'll talk about that oppression type things, but like all these things culminated in them galvanizing together to fight the system. And Tishon, which was Kimberly Elise, you mentioned she had her child taken away, and then Cleo, obviously was in the midst of all this as well, like seeing the oppression and kind of fighting for them. Masterful casting and character development. Like I said, I saw F. Gary Gray in an interview. I saw a special interview that he had. Interestingly enough, Kimberly Elise was the newcomer to Hollywood. These other stars were more established. Yes. And Kimberly said that her character was the most like her real life persona was very similar to her character of Tishon. She said she was young and broke in real life, and that's kind of like the role that she portrayed. So it was interesting there. Did I write anything to add as well there?
I mean, it is, a twist on the heist film. We reviewed Paid in Full. It's another kind of heist type film, or at least crime film, and it's all male leads. But right. This was fun to watch. A different spin on it, and it's good to see this kind of stuff. This stuff needs to be on film, and you really do root for them, even though they're committing crimes and getting away with it for the most part.
Yeah. In another interview that I saw, or a clip from the interview with F. Gary Gray, Jada Pinkett actually wanted to be the role of Cleo, which was given to Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah knocked it out of the park, as we mentioned. And Vivica A. Fox was concerned that she wouldn't come off as hood enough for the viewers because she had never played a role that hardened. But it worked out, and she was so glad that she had done the film. Ironically, she was filming Independence Day at the same time, and it was like a lunch break when she was called over, and just couple quick lines to audition, and she knocked it out of the park as well. So It all came together like it was fate. This cast worked so well together.
Wow, from filming Independence Day to to robbing banks.
Exactly. Save the world and
action star.
Wow.
Yeah, and ironically, with Will Smith as the co-star of Independence Day, you get Jada Pinkett in this one. Yeah, so it's all
it's a small world.
Small world, exactly. But yeah, the casting amazing. You root for them. So another takeaway that we mentioned is that we see an early instance of an LGBTQ relationship in a major motion picture. So remember, this was 96. It's handled well without making it a clumsy plot point. Boogie, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, this was the first time that it's one of the first times it's been on film, and it definitely didn't come across as something that was awkward or even side-eyed about it. She actually, the girlfriend was around like when they were talking a lot of times, and it wasn't like she was awkwardly placed in there. It just kind of flowed. It wasn't the scenes with her and Cleo didn't seem like outlandish or over the top. Some of them were kind of funny. When she was, playing with the money and everything, but I don't want to get too much into that. But I think, I think it was well done. And you see other movies where they try to touch on the topic and it just doesn't work, but it definitely works here. And I think that Queen Latifah played her role so well that rumors and questions about her actual sexuality started to come into question. I mean, that's how well that dynamic works in the film, that it kind of spilled over into her actual life, where people were like, well, is she not? Is she not? Not that it mattered, but I think the film was so well done that people couldn't differentiate the two.
Yeah.
Good point. Dinah, anything else to add about the LGBTQ aspect?
Yeah. This is almost how many 30 years ago, and we weren't used to seeing this kind of thing. And the thing I like about it is that they don't really like try to make a big statement about it. They just have it exist in part in that universe, and so it doesn't draw any undue attention to it. That's just how they live. And that I think is why it's done well. It's not part of the. It's not really part of the story. It's part of the character development, and we need, especially at that time, we needed those sorts of portrayals of the LGBT community, because they've been there all along. It's not like they just showed up then,
right?
And to just show them in a normal kind of relationship without having to like put a spotlight on it and make a big fuss about it was really nice.
Right, and if the listeners here have heard a lot of our episodes, we've mentioned the term homophobia quite a bit about other films in the same era, whether it be late 80s, early 90s. So this is the same time frame, and yet, as you mentioned, it's almost like an organically happening as an LGBTQ relationship without making a big fuss about it. So it was like groundbreaking in that sense, where same-sex couples were much more taboo, not really spoken about, or to the total opposite, where a great deal of homophobia was out there. Still exists today, but people are much more open-minded. Yeah.
You had to go to an art house film to see that kind of stuff in cinema, and for this to be a major motion picture, that was good. That was progress.
So groundbreaking and the film was groundbreaking in a few aspects. Having the all-female cast doing the heist and this relationship, well done. Exactly. Takeaway number 4 was the soundtrack was hip-hop heavy and important to the heist sequences. Who wants to kick us off on that?
I can go.
Go ahead.
In the movie, Cleo can't get started until she gets some pump-up music, and I had to write this down. So the first time it was "I Ain't No Joke" by Eric B. and Rakim.
Love that
Great
one.
song, of course. And then the second one was "Pistol Grip Pump" by Volume 10. Good. And then the third time, and each time she carjacks a car and then goes through the CDs and throws them out the window. And then puts on other music, and the third one is from Your Blind Side by X-Men, H Squared, and Chocolate. It's just great. Like, I mean, I do need pump up music too when I'm doing important things. I'm not robbing banks, but it's helpful to have a good soundtrack. And like they said in I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. Was it "I'll Get You, Sucker"? Every hero needs a theme. Every hero needs his theme music.
Absolutely.
That was some much needed comic relief. Yeah, exactly. She would throw them out and call it BS. Like, this is BS. This is BS.
Yeah.
This is BS. It's like, you're like, what are you doing? It's almost like delaying the getaway car because she's like throwing the music out the window. That was hilarious. Yeah. So definitely good stuff.
Yeah, definitely the funniest hang up of the movie. I still laugh every time I see those scenes. It's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
like,
you gotta have priorities. You gotta have good music, of course.
It's funny though, because like I've never stolen a car, robbed a bank, but I know sometimes when I get in my car and when I'm ready to go somewhere, I'll put a song or one of my mixes on or something. And if it starts in the middle of the song, I take it right back to the beginning. So it's like I got to ride out to that beat. Or, as soon as I park, if I'm coming down the block, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to get into the part I like. And then I come down, I'm like, yeah. So I understand the importance of the music.
When you get in the car and like, I don't like this station. I changed station. My song is on. Now I can go.
Yeah.
I was doing that today on my commute. I was like, I just recently got like Spotify Premium. I have my playlist, and I'm like, I want to hear this, and like now I can go exactly. So I get it, but it was funny in that scenario there with the carjacking. But the soundtrack as a whole has a lot of well-known artists. obviously Queen Latifah has a song on there. Brandy, Bone Thugs and Harmony, MC Light, En Vogue, Busta Rhymes,
Yeah.
Seal. Yeah. So it's a solid soundtrack.
Yep.
Any other highlights for the soundtrack, Boogie? You're a resident expert on.
I mean, aside from the hip hop songs,
Mm-hmm.
"Don't Let Go" by En Vogue was a powerful, powerful song.
Yeah.
You know, so like anytime I hear that song, you know, it takes me back to this movie. But yeah, it's just a powerful song. It's about love, you know, and you know, even despite it being a crime movie, at the root of it is love. It's four friends who love one another and will support one
Right.
another and will do anything for one another. Literally,
Literally.
do anything for one another. You know,
Rob multiple banks.
Yeah.
You know,
The Don't Let Go was during the intimate scene between Blair Underwood and Jada Pinkett's character, right? I think. Yeah. But yeah, and Blair Underwood, by the way, casting. I mean, he was. F. Gary Gray said, "This is the guy that I wanted to play this role, like kind of an upper crust type young man who's on his way, professional, and like that's the guy he wanted, and that's the guy he got, and it was perfect casting there as well."
Yeah, he's perfectly cast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did an event with Crush Groove where we screened it at a theater, and Blair Underwood, in his earlier days, he's had a storied career too.
Yeah, young Blair Underwood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, excellent. So the soundtrack's solid. The final takeaway, number 5, was that some of the themes in the movie, such as police brutality, racism, sexism, systemic oppression, are sadly still relevant, which gives the film a poignant quality. Donna, right, you want to kick us off on that one? That topic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In our early days of this podcast, we used to ask ourselves, could we make this movie again or today? This movie, like especially the older ones, and this one was definitely like something you could do today because it's the same kind of thing. Like, people are guilty by association, on racial lines, and there is a police murder of a unarmed black man that literally sets it off in this film. So that exists. There's other examples of things like this, of the isms in the movie, and yes, this was made almost 30 years ago, and we're still talking about these things. These things are still happening in these communities.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Would you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, we see, like I said, there was a unarmed black male shot. We thought we thought he had a gun. The isms are also, like as Dana Rice said, the isms are all apparent throughout the film. There's all types of misogyny, in the treatment of the 4 women by their manager, boss. It's just it's a bad situation. I mentioned earlier with TT and her son being in the system. That's because of circumstances and the struggle she has to go through to get him out. They're all desperate for money for various reasons. Exploited at work, which I kind of touched, but I mentioned a little earlier. So it's a big, perfect storm of a mess that just results in these 4 feeling like they have no way out, no way to turn to, and like it definitely can be made today easily. You can literally shoot the movie frame for frame.
Yeah.
Today, and it would still work.
Yeah.
We could get the same actresses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the systemic oppression that galvanized the 4 women because they were all struggling, facing all their challenges that were not fair. for many reasons. I mean, the young black man Stevie getting shot, a case of, and I'm air quotes, mistaken identity, because he had the same head shaving, but he had no gun. He had actually a bottle of champagne that was gifted to him, but they reacted, by shooting. Frankie was unfairly fired because of her association. She knew the guy's name. She had recently been promoted. She was a great associate. She got fired from this great job at the bank. She ends up having to sleep with the guy to get some money advance, like he was taking advantage of her. The Child Protective Services. Luther was taking out more taxes than, not paying what was promised. Like, the oppression was palpable. Like, you could you could cut it with a knife. And that literally led them to this life of crime, a bank heist. And once they taste that success, it's like you kind of get greedy and like, oh, well, I need more money for this and this. It worked. They had that taste of success, and they're like, okay, what's bigger and better? Then, there's some conflicts. Like, how far do they go with it, right? And obviously, there's repercussions. If I go back 1 minute to the soundtrack, we mentioned "Set It Off." We discussed this off air. Like, I almost wish that the song "Set It Off" by Big Daddy Kane was in it, because that's a great song as well. Kind of like when "Paid in Full." Like, "Paid in Full" wasn't on that soundtrack. It's always any number of reasons, if they can't get the rights.
Yeah.
Just wanted to mention
the rights, or it's too obvious.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. It's like if somebody doesn't know about this film and they're like, "Oh, go to the soundtrack." Like, where's "Set It Off"?
Yeah.
But, yeah. Other notes about the film, I have a few. But if anybody wants to talk about any other, comments about the film itself. All right, I'll kick it off. So I love the 70s throwback party for Stevie's graduation. That was dope. All the big afros, the fashion. That was cool. I like that. Other actors. So Dr. Dre has a small role as Black Sam. He's I don't know if he's a gun runner or works the gun range, but he obviously helps with the weapons and stuff. As a young Dr. Dre, and John C. McGinley as Strode, the police detective, the head police detective guy. He gives a solid performance. I always liked him, and whatever he's in, he always cracked me up on the TV show Scrubs. So yeah, it was good to see him. He was actually empathetic about what happened, but obviously, can't apologize. So there's some intense scenes with him as well, as he's on the chase, and then things kept escalate as well. So yeah, there's a couple of those things like that. The one scene with the girls talking around the table with the fake Italian accents, I thought that was a little bit cheesy, like the Godfather scene, because they're playing the Godfather music. I was like,
yeah.
Yeah. I was like, if they did it again,
probably could have been edited out.
Yeah. That was kind of funny.
Had our blood pumping, kept the blood pumping. Said, all right, let's do something to calm everybody down for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Start to mess up again.
Yeah.
That's funny for you to laugh at.
Mm-hmm. And there was a conflict. It's not all like, hey, these girls got along all well. There was a conflict where Cleo at one point put the gun to Stoney's head because they were arguing. To me, that was reminiscent of Juice a little bit, like when Bishop, threatening.
I had the same reaction.
The friends. I was like, whoa, okay, I see that now. So yeah. And I see that TT's character, Tashawn, she became emboldened throughout the film. You could see her progression where she was really shy. She left the one heist because she was not into it, but she grew with her. She became bolder. She held the one customer at bay during the one heist, and she was the one that ended up, shooting Luther at the hotel after he'd stole the money. So she was all in. She was pushed to that brink, and she's like, "Hey, listen, I can't half-ass it. I got to do it."
Yeah, she's so close to getting a son back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anna Marie Horsford, who played the worker.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, well, look at that. Yeah. Played our mother in Friday.
Yeah, and it's funny. So Friday, F. Gary Gray, for folks you may remember, he directed Friday, and this was after that. And it's like, what a contrast, comedy. He had always dreamed of doing like an action film, and he got his chance. He got star-studded cast, and did a great job. The one thing too is like the budget wasn't as large as you would think for an action film they were talking about on this interview. So the scene where Queen Latifah, Cleo, drives the truck through the glass windows of the bank, like right through, they had to do that like in one take, and it had to work. They didn't really have a big budget to recreate that, and it worked. They were fortunate.
Yeah, that was intense.
Yeah, it work. That was intense. That was really intense.
The first time I saw that scene, I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, but those were the other kind of notes that I had. Yeah, well done. Any other comments or notes?
There's a lot of good writing about this. We'll put this in the show notes. But people have talked about the LGBTQ issues and just in general queer representation in film, and especially Black queer representation. So I'll throw that in there. Okay. Recommended reading.
Yeah. F. Gary Gray has a really nice career.
Done well.
He directed Set It Off, The Italian Job, Friday. I think Men in Black, Straight Outta Compton. Yeah, Be Cool. Really incredible career. Super talented.
Yeah.
Music videos as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think he did good. It Was a Good Day. Yeah. Ice Cube. He did Waterfalls, TLC. Miss Jackson by Outkast. Like some of these iconic videos. He's behind those also. Yeah. So, yeah. The man is talented. Sure. All right, fellas, you want to go around and give our ratings here? Whether for the film Set It Off, Boogie, would you say bring that funky flick back or leave it in the vault?
Bring that funky flick back.
Okay, Dino Right?
I'll also bring this funky flick back.
And that makes 3. I will bring this funky flick back. Very well crafted.
Definitely groundbreaking.
Yes.
Yep.
Go see it if you have.
Not for the faint of heart, but it's still a great movie nonetheless.
Bring it. Come on.
Hip Hop Movie Club is produced by your HHMCs, JB, Boogie, and Dino Right. Theme music by Boogie. If you're the type to leave a rating or review, please do. That would be dope. And whether you're listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. It gives us a power up for real. Thanks for tuning in.
Remember, don't hate, create.
Create.
Yeah. Make some art.
From nothing.
Bring it. Come on.